Hi Libra, welcome to your overview for the year ahead. In this overview, I plan to go over some of the major transits that are happening this year. Of course, keep in mind there are many other transits. I could not cover all them, but these are just the really big ones that I think are important. I covered one really small one that I think is important, and I just think it's going to help you navigate the year better. So, this overview is for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Of course, the rising sign is always the strongest indicator, then the Sun sign, and then some people do resonate with their Moon sign, but it's usually not as external from what I've heard. I also recommend if you have a lot of planets in Libra, like a Libra stellium, or if you have a stellium in your seventh house, this recording may also benefit you as you may resonate with many of the themes I'm about to discuss. So, the first thing I want to start off with is talking about Venus retrograde in Capricorn. So, this is an ongoing theme as Venus went retrograde December 19th of 2021. She is still retrograde and will not go direct until January 29th, and this is in your fourth house. Once she goes direct, she will stay in your fourth house until March 6th. So, Venus is all about love, beauty, harmony, money, finance, self worth. Trying to think of anything else. What we value. And the fourth house is a very personal house as it sits at the bottom of the chart. It's not visible to anyone. It's what we don't show anyone, and it's what no one else sees. It's our inner world and foundation. So this can be our emotional world and our emotions, our childhood stuff and our childhood psychology. It can also be our physical home, any domestic matters, security, family, lineage, ancestry, our roots, our parents, and it's very feminine. So this can also talk about the mother. So there's a number of ways that this could be coming up for you to review or to rethink. I can't discuss all of them, but just a few things. For some, you may be rethinking a home renovation or a design. Just be very careful here, unless it's been a long time coming, like this has been something you planned for a long time. Just because we're all wearing rose colored glasses when it comes to anything Venus like, so aesthetics, right? So you may have this idea to paint your kitchen bright red, and then after Venus goes direct, you realize I don't really like this color, or it doesn't match my new dishware or something like that. It could also be that you decide to, make a man cave for your partner or something like that, and then you find out you're pregnant once Venus goes direct. So it doesn't always mean you won't like it. It could just mean that there's things that are going to happen that would make you wish you hadn't done that in the first place because you lost money. So when Venus is retrograde, we really need to be careful of our money because we can overspend and lose money. So, and the thing is, we're going to want to. So we're going to want to redesign and renovate and paint and all that. So just keep that in mind. Low stakes things are best. So buying a new picture for your wall or some new throw pillows or just moving your living room around, something that's reversible. If you can afford to lose the money, then I say, go for it. Other things that may come up are like healing family relationships. So if there's been issues within the family dynamic, those could come up for healing, or something that hasn't been healed might come up so you can deal with it. This could also be healing just with the women in your life. So, primarily the mother. You could be reassessing your home and family and your values. So what do you value when it comes to family dynamic? Like, do you want to sit down and eat dinner every night? Is it okay if, you take a vacation every year for Christmas? I'm just making some stuff up. You also might be reevaluating where you live. Do I feel home here? Maybe you did at one point and now you're kind of feeling like, this isn't home anymore. I know with COVID, lots of people have changed what feels like home to them. For some of you, you might just become more of a homebody. But yeah, I mean, by March 6th, there'll definitely be more clarity. By January 29th, if you want to make any changes, you can. Keep in mind Mercury is going to be retrograde at that point. But, when it comes to the fourth house, you might have a bit more clarity. But then by March 6th, you're really good to go when it comes to home and family matters. The next transit I want to talk about is Jupiter. So Jupiter is the lucky planet. Jupiter expands wherever it goes, and we're a bit luckier there when Jupiter is touring that house. So Jupiter has been in Pisces, and it will stay in Pisces until May 10th. Then it will dip out of Pisces into Aries for a couple months, and then it's going to go back into Pisces. So for you right now, Libra, Jupiter in Pisces is in your 6th house of health, work routines, work, your daily habits, pets, it's the health house. So physical well-being, exercise, all that good stuff. It's also like the systems you put in place to manage your day-to-day tasks. So this is, I think Jupiter is nice wherever he goes, but this is like luck, expansion, and growth in all these 6th house matters. So your daily habits and routine, the mundane things that most people don't want to deal with, like cleaning, your to-do list, paying your bills, you might just generally find more joy in doing them. Health matters and healing. So if you have a health issue, the healing can occur around this time, or you might find the right practitioner or healing, person. You could find a pet, whether you want one or not. If you're looking for a pet, this is a great transit, because this pet would just, I think all pets bring you joy, but sometimes people get pets and there's issues. This would be a really good thing to get a pet. Your work, you might see expansion in your work. You might just feel more, content with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you work for yourself and you need to hire employees, this is a really good time to do that. You would just find the right people that would, do what you needed to do for your business. Careful with food, because this is a health house and Jupiter is indulgent. Some people can put on a few extra pounds, but if you wanted to get into a new exercise or health routine, this would be a really great time to start one. In general, I think I mentioned the work just will be pleasant. You might just enjoy it more. All the boring things of life, you're just going to maybe enjoy a bit better. When Jupiter dips out, when does he dip out? May 10th to October 28th, he's going to head into your 7th house. So this is just going to give you a snippet of what 2023 will be like. So Jupiter in the 7th house is all about luck, expansion, and good fortune when it comes to your one-to-one relationships. So the first one I think about is marriage and our romantic relationships. So these are committed relationships, contractual relationships, but it can also be business relationships. It can be, like I said, that, if you're looking for a doctor or a practitioner, it can be any of those. If you work in a business where you have individual clients, you could gain more clients as well. So if you're in a relationship, if you're married, your relationship will blossom or grow in some way. So whether that's starting a family, getting a pet, buying a home. It could also just be that your partner will have lots of good things going on for them, which in turn will benefit you. If you are single, May through October is a really great time to meet someone. This person could be very Sagittarian-like or very different from what you're used to. It doesn't have to be, but just because Jupiter is very Sagittarius-like, it could be someone who's well-traveled, someone who's from a different culture than you, or who has a different belief system than you. Now, I will say, depending on the aspects in your chart, I'm talking about all the positives, but we have to think of each of our charts, and we don't know what all the aspects are unless we look at an individual natal chart. So if it's negatively aspected, or if you are having issues in your relationship, know that this could either just help them go away, right? Or it could, make them even bigger. But Jupiter wants to solve problems, right? He's all about solutions. So if your problems get bigger, it could be to solve them or to just make you notice so that you deal with them, right? So it can still be very healing for relationships around this time. And some people do separate when Jupiter goes in the 7th, but again, it's usually been an ongoing issue, and it becomes, very apparent that this is not the right relationship. If you're happy in your relationship, I have a feeling that this is going to be very, very positive for you. And in general, if you're having relationship issues, it's a really great time to heal those. So therapy and stuff like that would be really beneficial. So that's what Jupiter is like in the 7th, and then he's going to go back into your 6th house for the end of the year. The next transit I want to talk about is Saturn. So Saturn is, basically the opposite of Jupiter. Jupiter expands and Saturn restricts and makes us disciplined and makes us work for what we want, and we have to have patience, and there's consequences if we don't do the work. So the fifth house is the fun house. So romance, love affairs, sex, creativity, fertility, children, self expression, drama, speculative ventures, hobbies. I don't know if I said hobbies. So when Saturn's in the fifth, I just dealt with this not too long ago. So I can share some personal experiences, but having fun just may seem harder, right? And it doesn't mean that you're no fun anymore, but your work life and your responsibilities might just overtake that, and you might actually have to schedule fun in. I know when this transited for me, I didn't even realize it till closer to the end of the transit, but I was finishing school, and so school had to come first and fun had to come second. So it wasn't like the end of the world, but I did have to make time to schedule fun. For those with children, you might realize that you have to tighten up your parenting style with discipline if your children have been acting out or getting into trouble. If you're coupled, it may be harder to feel the romance, or even if you're single, you might have like a dry spell for a bit. If you are single, you're also going to probably want someone more mature, older, or wiser, and that's probably who you're going to attract. And if you do meet someone, it would be a more serious relationship. Now, it doesn't mean it wouldn't be fun. It just means that this person is going to be very Saturnian. If badly aspected, it can make the relationship a lot of work. Issues coming up with intimacy, maybe not intimacy so much, but just sex and romance in general, that could be blocked. You might just feel like love is just requiring a lot more effort. If you're trying to get pregnant and have had issues, this might not help. If you're struggling with fertility issues, Saturn wants you to go back to the basics and restructure your foundation. Something's missing, right? Maybe it's a health thing. Maybe it's, maybe he's just trying to really, maybe he wants you to prove to him that you actually want this, right? So Saturn will do that. He'll test us. For those who are very creative, you might feel blocked, the writer's block thing, or your hobbies just may feel more like chores. I know for me, I love to be creative, and I just didn't. I lost my interest in all the creative things I was doing, and I mean, maybe that was because of school, but it just wasn't fun. Don't recommend gambling during this time because Saturn is not lucky. You might just struggle to let loose, right? Your self-expression may seem stifled. If you're in drama or acting, there could be challenges. And again, it's not because you're not good, or it's because Saturn really wants you to strengthen that foundation. So if you do the work that Saturn wants, you're going to come out with a newfound outlook on what brings you joy, and how are you creative? What do you want in love? You're gaining awareness and clarity on what you need in love, and just overall joy and happiness in your life. So for some, there might be some wake-up calls because Saturn is reality checks. And that could be something as little as, realizing the amount of discipline it takes to making a hobby a business, right? Like you're like, wow, like I thought this would be easy and it's not. Or it could be, a bigger wake-up call with, the amount of effort that you need to make a love relationship work, right? Maybe, you're someone who hasn't had a long-term relationship or has had some issues in love. Saturn's going to show you, where do you need to, tighten up and restructure. So I know that was kind of a lot, but by the time Saturn leaves here, you're going to have a better idea of what your talents are. Hopefully you'll be better at, self-expression. You're going to be clear on what you want in love. And, overall, Saturn's going to strengthen these areas. And so it'll be really good when he leaves. But if you're feeling just a bit blah in some of these areas, just know that that's good old Saturn. The next transit I want to talk about is Mars. Now, this is a very short transit, but I think it's important, and I will explain why in just a sec. So Mars is in Aquarius from March 7th to April 14th. I do recommend people to write this date down, put it in your calendars. And for you, Libra, this is in your fifth house. So we just talked about Saturn in the fifth house. Saturn is a malefic planet. Now we're going to have Mars, another malefic, in the same house. So we have two malefic planets that are probably going to conjunct at some point, and they're not the funnest planets, right? Sometimes they can cause us some troubles. So I think that this is important to note so that we can channel the energy and make the most use of it. So there's going to be a concentrated area going on in your fifth house. So all the topics I've just been talking about. So the positive energy of Mars is ambition, drive, motivation, energy, charisma even. So having all that in these areas. So when it comes to love, maybe you'll just be more out there and dating. When it comes to children and discipline and parenting, you'll have more drive there. When it comes to your hobbies, maybe where you stopped a hobby, you'll pick it up again. So it can be really helpful in terms of motivation. So like your love life might seem some movement. So if you've had a dry spell, this is when you might start a passionate affair. You might be more focused on pleasure and joy. But again, we want to be careful because caution is warranted because Mars can burn itself out. Be very careful with gambling because you might start to feel lucky, but with Saturn there, I don't believe you would be, so just be careful. You might just be more playful and have, more passion, which attracts people. So this is great for sports if you're in sports. But the downside of Mars is aggression, conflicts. Mars can be very inflammatory. So again, in all these areas, as much as there could be more movement, there could also be more fights and struggles. So just keep that in mind. Overall, I actually think this is a really good spot for Mars. Unless badly aspected, I think this could be really great. And I always tell people to channel the Mars energy. So this is a sports house. So get out and do sports if that's what you do. Mars needs physical activity. So go to the gym, go for a run. And this is the sex house. So, have sex. That's another way to get the energy out. Versus fighting and causing conflicts that, may not be reversible because Mars is cutting and Saturn is, consequences. So, you don't want to burn a bridge. Either way, whatever's going on, this is a very short period, so just know that if it is challenging, that it will pass. The next transit I want to talk about is Uranus going direct January 18th, and this is in your 8th house. So Uranus is the planet of surprise. He's all about innovation, very unpredictable, but Uranus wants freedom and to liberate us. He's been here for some time, so this is not a new energy for you. He moved in your 8th house in, I believe, May of 2018, and he's been going, back and forth, retrograde, back and forth since then, and he's going to stay here until about, I think it's 2025 or 6, I can't recall, but for a few more years. So the 8th house is a very busy house. They all are in some sense, but this is about merging. This house is sex, debt, taxes, other people's resources. It's all the taboo topics, right? So it's also like the hidden, so the occult, tarot, astrology, but also deep research, psychology, mysteries, inheritances are in here, anything joint, so loans, assets, property, intimacy. I don't know if I mentioned that. So if you rely on other people's money, for example, there could be sudden fluctuations in this, and that could be for better or for worse, right? This could be great, but it could be this is drying up. This if you get alimony or something, be careful. You might not be able to rely on this anymore, and you'll have to figure out new ways to support yourself. The 8th house is also death and transformation. Obviously badly aspected, it could mean literal physical death, but I don't know how to predict this. I don't know any astrologer who does. When we say death, we're really talking about transformational, metaphorical. So it's more likely that, you go through a sudden transformation, right? You may explore some very unusual ways of healing at this time. Unusual for you. And Some things that I thought of when I thought of that were like hypnotherapy. I mean, for some people, therapy is unusual in general. So whatever's unusual to you. Um, Sexually, you may want more freedom and desire to experiment and change things up. And this could be quite like impulsively or dramatically. So just be careful if you are in a committed relationship. Um, Talk to your partner about this. Maybe you and your partner can do things together, because, it is kind of a wild card. Um, you could also experience major ups and downs when it comes to power. So, having it all to having none at all. And, you might just feel suddenly drawn to studies, astrology or tarot or psychology or one of those fields. For some, it could also just be like sudden intuitive abilities like clairvoyance or just a mystical experience that transforms you. I mean, it could also be a sudden inheritance. Again, that doesn't mean someone dies all the time. But overall, it's kind of a wild card when we talk about Uranus. But I think that if you do have any psychological traumas, like this is a very good time to be able to work through them. And just know if you're feeling a bit restless in any of these areas, it's that your Uranus energy that wants freedom. The last part of this overview is going to talk about the eclipses. So the eclipses, the North Node eclipse is in Taurus this year. So that means the North Node, the transiting North Node is in your 8th house, and the transiting South Node is in your 2nd house. So I talked earlier about there being a focus in your 5th house with Saturn and Mars there, but there's also going to be this focus in the 8th house because we have Uranus, this, unexpected, out of the blue, wild card energy, but we also have the eclipses. And, eclipses are sudden endings and beginnings, right? And they can also happen out of the blue. But what they really do is they put us on the right path. So if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing or what we signed up to do in this lifetime, we could be thrown onto that path, and that can be really uncomfortable sometimes. It could be really exciting as well. So there's a big focus on money this year because the 8th house is about other people's money, and the 2nd house is about the money that you earn from your day job. The North Node in the 8th house may propel you to transform in some major way, either because you want to or maybe you're forced to. You may even feel like you go through death in terms of how much you change over this year. So that could be your beliefs, your identity, letting go of old wounds that were just holding you back, changing your lifestyle or something like that. There will be major beginnings and endings when it comes to other people's resources that you rely on and how you earn an income. So if money is starting to change or there's some talk about that, just trust. For some, I have to say you might lose an income and have to rely on, another type or another form. For others, there may be a focus on just paying off debts, and that's financial or karmic debts. So like the emotional stuff that you came in this life with. Sexually, you could go through a very interesting year. Sexual healing comes to mind, but also deepening intimacy and experiencing a deeper merging with another. And that could be with another person or with like the hidden world, right? You also may experience powerful breakthroughs that help you harness your power and just feel like you can overcome anything after you get through this year. Sometimes, the rebirth happens because there is some type of loss, but not always. It depends how it's aspected in your chart. I would encourage you that if you are overly dependent on someone else financially or emotionally, to get that in check, because that will help you a lot more. And if any insecurities or fears come up, I think this is a really good year to break through them. So overall, I think this will be highly transformational for you. So I know that was a lot, Libra. I hope that it helped and that I was clear. We are in Mercury retrograde as I'm recording, so I might have fidgeted over my words a bit, but just comment, like, share, subscribe. If you're resonating with some of these energies, I'd love to hear. If I didn't mention something that is related to one of these, please share as well. And yeah, keep in mind that the eclipses, I didn't talk individually about the dates, but they're on the screen. So know that the north node in the eighth house and the south node in the second, these are the dates. So you might feel this energy around these dates, but it is, going on for the entire year. But yeah, I will leave it at that and just stay tuned for more videos.